can change your life by changing your attitude. When we meet difficult people, or when life's challenges become overwhelmingly tricky, and bad news becomes the norm, we tend to react negatively, which often worsens the situation. We focus our minds on the negative aspects of life and end up overreacting. However, our overreaction affects us more than it does others. Blowing things out of proportion, we end up frustrated, and often reject what we wanted in the first place. We lose sight of the bigger picture when we don't try to get a situation under control. Our minds trick us into chasing trivial things that we believe will make up for our loss. By doing so, we separate ourselves from the people who care for us. We make big deals out of nothing and miss out on the really important stuff. The way you relate to problems has a lot to do with how quickly and efficiently you solve them. Life can bring much pain. There are many ways to deal with it. Unfortunately, most of the world deals with their pain and problems wrongly. There are better ways to relate to life and its complications. Richard Carlson, who has guided and taught numerous clients around the world, puts forward some methods that follow thinking before acting patterns. The sooner you catch yourself in the act of building your mental snowball, the easier it is to stop. Richard Carlson. The strategies discussed here may seem unconventional. However, they will make your life better. Each of them is simple and powerful. Treat them as a navigational guide to changing your habits and reactions to petty things. Doing this will help you feel more relaxed and satisfied. Do not underestimate the power of changing habits, though. You can apply these strategies to more significant challenges. Did you know? When you don't sweat the small stuff, your life won't be perfect, but you will learn to accept what it has to offer with far less resistance. When you concentrate on the hardships, you lose touch with the magic of life. Most of the stuff that has us worked up doesn't usually deserve our time and attention. In reality, they are minor issues, but somehow, we manage to blow them out of proportion. For instance, consider an overtaking that takes place in a traffic jam. Often, you will witness massive confrontations in response to such a simple occurrence. If you've ever witnessed such situations, you might wonder why anyone would go through all that stress to prove a point. It's all because we have lost touch with compassion. If we were compassionate toward each other and tried to understand the possible problems others may be going through, this type of confrontation would not happen so often. For instance, one might overtake in a traffic jam because one is late for an important presentation or just received news from the hospital. Stop focusing on little concerns and problems, and don't blow them way out of proportion. In the pursuit of perfection, people often mess up their inner peace. To understand the relationship between ideal and inner peace, you can view them as factors opposite of a balance beam. The more perfect you become, the less your inner tranquility. The moment you get into a state where everything isn't good enough for you is the moment you begin losing. It doesn't matter whether we desire perfection from ourselves or external factors. The moment you shift your focus on the ideal, you will lose your ability to be kind and gentle to yourself and others. Focusing on imperfection will pull us away from being kind and gentle. This does not mean we should not strive to be better, but rather that we should keep an eye on the balance between our life pursuits and inner peace. To accomplish this, always be okay with life the way it presently is. Be content with your surroundings. This will make you see perfection in life itself. When you take time, often, to reflect on the miracle of life, the miracle that you are even able to read this book, the gift of sight, of love, and all the rest, it can help to remind you that many of the things that you think of as big stuff are really just small stuff, that you are turning into big stuff. Richard Carlson. Did you know? Fearful, frantic thinking takes an enormous amount of energy and drains the creativity and motivation from our lives. When you are nervous or agitated, you immobilize yourself from your most significant potential. Remember that your life is meaningful. Compassion helps build our perspective. It is a sympathetic feeling that involves the willingness to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You take the focus off yourself, imagine what it's like to be in someone else's predicament, and simultaneously feel love for that person. Compassion means recognizing that other people's problems, pain, and frustrations are every bit as real as our own. The pursuit of our purpose has led us to live as though we are all on a mission. We have come to a place where we believe that our existence's sole purpose is achieving our individual and collective goals. As a result, we stay up late, wake up early, avoid happy times, and waste the time of our loved ones. We even justify this behavior by believing that a more significant measure of happiness is waiting for us at the end of our pursuit. However, there is no such thing. The in basket, by definition, is an imaginary basket that is never empty. There is always a task to be done in basket. Trying to check all the boxes takes all of the time we ought to spend appreciating life. It is how we get hooked on the pursuit of success. Remember, when you die, there will still be unfinished business to take care of. And you know what? Someone else will do it for you. Don't waste any more precious moments of your life regretting the inevitable. Richard Carlson. Success is important, but there is nothing as crucial as a self-made sense of happiness, inner peace, and the joy of our loved ones. When you get caught up in the pursuit of success, you will inevitably put everything and everyone else on hold. We are social beings that tend to do nice things for others. We share the stories of our acts of kindness with our friends or relatives, secretly seeking their approval. When others learn how kind and generous we are, our self-esteem is boosted. We believe that we deserve such kindness in return. When you help other people, keep it to yourself and revel in the abundant joy of giving. While all acts of kindness are inherently incredible, there is something even more magical about doing a good deed but mentioning it to no one, ever. You will always feel good when you give to others. If you don't dilute the positive feelings by telling others about your kindness, you get to retain all the positive emotions by keeping them to yourself. Learn to live in the present moment. Many people merely exist because they postpone everything to a later date. It is not rational because there is no guarantee that anyone will be here tomorrow. No one has control of his or her time. Now is the only time we have control over. We need to begin to appreciate it more often because doing so will eliminate fear from our minds. Fear is the concern over events that might happen in the future. We won't have enough money. Our children will get into trouble. We will get old and die, whatever. Richard Carlson. When you focus on the here and now rather than something that happened in the past or might happen in the future, you will reduce your fears. You can begin practicing today. You will reap the benefits in due time. Picture yourself in the lowest class possible. This will place you in a free state where you can practice something utterly unacceptable to you. Imagine that everyone around is more enlightened than you, that you're in the lowest class possible. It will build a sense of humility. When you're humble, you will begin to learn from others. For instance, the disrespectful waiter or the obnoxious driver will teach you patience. Imagine everyone has a lesson to teach you and you have to write an exam for the courses taught. To successfully learn from the people around you, you have to give them a chance and time to train. By the end of your lessons, you will understand why people act the way they do, and their actions and imperfections will not bother you anymore. Being heard and understood is one of the greatest desires of the human heart. Richard Carlson. Have you ever paused to notice the disappointment on the faces of people who are given the win of an argument before they make their point? Has anyone tried to prove they are right, and then you accepted being wrong and put them in the right? The truth is everyone loves an argument. We love to prove that we are right. When someone cuts us off halfway, we are left unsatisfied. Patience paves the way to a more peaceful and loving self. Patience is essential to our inner peace. As you become more patient, you will begin to understand and accept things the way they are. Patience requires a certain amount of courage. It is the acceptance of the present without making irrelevant complaints. In the sense of patience, people are often left with feelings of resentment, which disturb our inner peace. When this happens, we usually wait for the other party to reach out as a prerequisite for any form of reconciliation. Our faulted upbringing reinforces this strange behavior. When we stick to our anger, we turn small stuff into very big stuff in our minds. Breaking the habits we picked up while growing up is challenging but not impossible. When you find yourself holding a grudge against a friend, colleague, or relative, ask yourself the following questions. Will this matter a year from now? Is this situation as crucial as I am making it out to be? Your sincere answers to these questions will show you how silly resentment can be. The events and arguments of today will most likely be irrelevant in a year. Life isn't fair. While many have accepted this fact, some are still insisting that it works the other way around. As a result, these people spend much time wallowing in guilt and pity for themselves and others. They often commiserate with others, discussing the injustices of life. Life is not fair, we complain. Maybe it was never intended to be. Richard Carlson. The fact that life isn't fair should not discourage us from doing everything we can to improve the quality of our life or the world as a whole. Instead, it suggests that we should. When we don't recognize or admit that life isn't fair, we tend to feel pity for others and ourselves. Of course, pity is a self-defeating emotion that does nothing for anyone except making everyone feel worse than they already do. Compassion, on the other hand, helps us understand others better, and through others, ourselves. Compassion is a heartfelt emotion that delivers loving kindness to everyone it touches. Richard Carlson. Our overactive minds make us anxious. Relaxation is like a myth for most of us. Our lives are so filled with stimuli and responsibility that the only chance of peace available to us is retirement or death. People are no longer human beings. We should be called human doings. Unknown. Although this high level of responsibility yields results, it also subjects us to increased anxiety and inner struggles. Even when we attempt resting, our mind remains restless till it finds something new to ponder upon or pursue. What's next? Even when we return home, we often find ourselves engaging in different forms of activity. We watch television, make calls, study, or clean. All for the sake of avoiding being idle. It's as though we are terrified of relaxation. Doing nothing teaches you to clear your mind and relax. Relaxation is not meant for the body alone. It will help if you put your mind in the picture. Your brain needs to rest from its hectic routine the same way your body does. There is an inviolable law in our dynamic environment that says, our current level of stress will be exactly our tolerance to stress. The people that say, I can handle lots of stress, will always find themselves under a great deal of it. If you don't know how to raise your tolerance level, that's precisely what will happen. When your schedule is super busy, it's a signal that it's time to slow down. To accomplish this, try to keep an eye on your stress levels. The key is to take note of them before they get out of hand. When your schedule is getting out of control, it's a clear signal to slow down and reevaluate what's essential rather than power through everything on the list. You'll find that when you catch yourself getting too stressed out, early before it gets out of control, your stress will be like the proverbial snowball rolling down the hill. When it's small, it's manageable and easy to control. Once it gathers momentum, however, it's difficult, if not impossible, to stop. Richard Carlson. Conclusion. Mind your own business. It's tough enough trying to create a life of serenity when your mental tendencies, habits, and problems get in the way. However, when you feel compelled to handle other people's issues, your goal of becoming more peaceful grows nearly impossible. Minding your own business goes far beyond merely avoiding the temptation to solve other people's problems. It also includes eavesdropping, gossiping, talking behind other people's backs, and analyzing them. One of the primary reasons most of us focus on others' shortcomings is to avoid looking at ourselves. Treat this day as if it were your last. 5. Today? The truth is, none of us has any idea how long we have to live. Sadly, however, we act as if we're going to live forever. Live each day as if it were your last on this earth. This reminder is not to serve as a prescription to be reckless or abandon your responsibilities, but to remind you of how precious life is. Don't sweat the small stuff. Try this one. Every day try to find at least one good thing or a person to thank. It will shift the focus from the negative stuff. 2. Practice awareness. When something unwanted happens, try to track how you feel. Name the emotion you are experiencing. Try to figure out why you got triggered. Develop a new reaction to such a situation. It could be compassion for the person that hurt you in some way. 3. Do a good deed, and don't tell anyone about it. 4. Once a week, write a letter to yourself or any other person in mind. Tell them about your significant things and how you felt about them. Reflect and analyze your behavior. If something you did makes you feel bad or ashamed, think about how you can do it differently in the future and be happy about it.